Contrary to the model minority myth, the failure rate for Asian American college students is significant, at over 40% nationally. The percentage of Asian Americans in Chicago, at about 5%, is slightly higher than the percentage in the U.S. At the University of Illinois Chicago, among a campus of nearly 28,000 students, about 18% of the student body are classified as Asian American. The face of Asian Americans at UIC is ethnically diverse, spanning Chinese, Indian, Filipino, and Korean, to Vietnamese, Laotian, and Japanese. Crowded into a cramped cultural center, they find affirmation. Such pan-ethnic affirmation provides refuge from a larger society that has historically perceived them in limiting ways. The longest-standing stereotype of Asians is a threatening yellow peril taking over society. Perceptions of Asians as culturally deviant foreigners led to a series of exclusionary immigration laws banning most Asians and Pacific Islanders between 1882 and 1965. Asians were refashioned into the model minority stereotype of self-reliant and educational success during the 1960s to deny affirmative action. However, narrowly framing Asians as if they're all the same neglects immense differences in abilities, needs, and interests.
Do we understand how varied the experiences are among Asian Americans? Every group has multiple stereotypes, and every group, I would argue, has contradictory stereotypes, or things that seem contradictory. And yet the model minority and the yellow peril stereotype have some very important similarities. Even though the model minority stereotype seems to be positive, hey, they're making it, hey, they're great people to work with, hey, they don't cause trouble, they're really quiet. It is still a stereotype. It is still a way of seeing a group through a very partial lens. And within education, of course, there are negative consequences, right? If you think someone's making it, you're less likely to give support. You're less likely to acknowledge that there's a diversity within that population, and so on. So both stereotypes are about not really seeing the population, but rather seeing this image that we think that population is supposed to be.
In the United States, about 60% of Asians are immigrants. Highly educated middle to upper class segments are overrepresented because immigration policies have favored highly educated Asian scholars and professionals, especially in the sciences, medicine, and engineering. Exceptions are made for refugees, who typically have low levels of education, income, and professional experience. The first Asian enclave in Chicago was populated in the late 1800s by Chinese who had been run out of Western states after being scapegoated for working harder for low wages. Underrepresented on city planning committees, the original Chinatown was reduced by thoroughfares to less than 25% of its size. A few thousand Filipino students entered Chicago while the Philippines was a U.S. territory from 1898 until independence and exclusion in 1934. About 30,000 Japanese Americans migrated to Chicago after World War II, after experiencing removal from West Coast communities to internment camps, and then being resettled to Chicago. The first wave of Indian immigrants entered Chicago in the 1960s and have become the largest Asian ethnic group. A major influx of Southeast Asian refugees since the 1970s has generated new Asian neighborhoods. Urban Asian ethnic enclaves are mostly immigrants. Most established Asian Americans have moved to the suburbs.